Waiting as the attendee numbers kick up. All right, let's begin. Everyone, thank you so much for making time on this Friday for some more information about exciting developments at Southern Cross University. Really appreciate, again, that you're making the time to speak with us and to help us on our journey through the last few years, and as we move into uncharted territory at the end of this year and into 2025. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend ahead. But in the meantime, we've got some exciting updates and further information about our Access25 initiative and the flat fee for international students, as well as some important information from our colleagues in admissions about visa screening, GS deposits, and so forth. So without further ado, I'll do a bit of a round of introductions for our colleagues here at Southern Cross University. Most of you will know me or know of me. I'm Damon Ferris. I'm the Executive Director Global. On the call with me today, we've got Adam Roberts, who heads up our metro campuses. He'll be running through some of the Access25 stuff. We've also got John Crowder from the metro campuses and Julia Hoon, who are our admissions directors, and they'll be going through some important admissions updates. Also on the call, we have Catherine from admissions, Narisu and Subi, who you will know from our recruitment team, and John Dizon, who helps us with all kinds of admissions, recruitment, and system-based stuff. So I'll leave it at that for now and throw over to Adam to kick off the Access25 update. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Adam. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Damon, and welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Friday. It's Friday afternoon in Melbourne, 4 p.m, and we've had a very, very big week down here this week. We've had the AIEC, the big International Education Conference, with all the dignitaries coming into Melbourne. Just in terms of what's happening in the industry, it's looking very, very likely that the caps are going to be legislated during November. And as you all know, each institution has been given their cap of students that they can enrol for next year. Some institutions have already started cancelling offer letters and withdrawing COEs because they've hit their cap. But luckily for Southern Cross University, we're out there trying to fill our cap. It's a challenge for us to get to our cap. That's part of the reason we're talking to you today. We need your help to make sure that we get to our quota of students for next year. So I'm going to do a bit of a reminder about the Access25 program that we recently launched at Southern Cross. We've got some really exciting news for you about the hotel school. And then John and Julia are going to talk through some admissions changes that are happening across the campuses as well. But just to start off with, so many of you will have attended the webinar we had 2 weeks ago where we announced the Access25 program. So as far as we can tell, we are the only university in the world that's come up with an initiative like this. So we looked at what was currently happening in Australia and with Southern Cross, and across the university, there were all different levels of tuition fees. There were all different levels of scholarships, and it became quite complicated for students to know how much it was going to cost, not just in their first year, but also in their second and third year. So Southern Cross University took the very, very brave decision that they would set a unified tuition fee, $25,000 for the year 2025. So that means that the annual tuition fee across the university for international students was reset to $25,000. Now, that covers bachelor students, master's students, and other full degree students. There's a couple of exclusions, including the Master of Nursing, which is already full. There's a Bachelor of Veterinary Technology, research degree, study abroad, and English are also not part of it. They run on a different fee system. But for the vast majority of our international students, the tuition fees are set at that $25,000 per year. which we believe makes us the best value public university in Australia. It also means that it's very easy for you and your students to understand how much it's going to cost to come and study at Southern Cross. They can budget for it, they can prepare for it. And being set at that level, it means it's very affordable and very good value. So just a reminder about the way that it works. So the 25,000 applies to all new students as well as continuing students. So if you had a bachelor or a master's student at Southern Cross this year and they were paying maybe 28, maybe 33, maybe $36,000, their tuition fees will change next year to become $25,000. So it gives them that certainty there. Now, for any new offer letters that are going out, they're coming out with the $25,000, and the university is also reissuing any live offers that are out there. So for Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, they've already been reissued. You will have received a new offer letter, and for the main campus, they're progressively being offered as we go along as well. So not only does it cover nearly all of the academic courses, it also covers all of the campuses of Southern Cross. So it covers Lismore, Gold Coast, Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Coffs Harbour. Just note that it doesn't cover the hotel school. They have a separate tuition fee and scholarship system, but it covers the main campuses and the metro campuses. If you have a student, there's a very, very small number of students that had an offer letter with lower tuition fees already issued. The university will honour that. So the students will not be disadvantaged, but any new offers going out will come out with the 25,000. If they've already paid their fees for next year and the fee was slightly higher than 25,000, the university is not going to refund them, but they will organise a credit to go onto their account. So it'll be discounted and their fees will work out to be 25,000 in the future. So the university has been very busy in the last couple of weeks. If you look on the website, if you look in StudyLink, you'll see that all of the tuition fees, apart from those excluded courses, have been updated out there. So we encourage you to promote that to your students. It's been live now in the market almost 2 weeks that we announced it. The offer letter reissuing is ongoing, as I mentioned. And if you do need any further information, you can jump on the website or just Google Access25 and it'll take you straight to the web page that's got FAQs and lots of information there. So please take advantage of that. That's a very, very good deal for your students. Okay, next exciting news from Southern Cross is that a lot of you are probably familiar with the hotel school. They run hotel management programs, bachelor's and master's in Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne. They've been delivering Southern Cross University degrees for many years. As of 2 weeks ago, the hotel school is now part of Southern Cross University. So before it was part owned by a private group, the university has acquired that. So the hotel school, just like the Sydney, Melbourne, Perth campuses, is now part of the university. So what this means, if you're a current Southern Cross University agent, you will be receiving an updated addendum during November, which will mean that you can recruit into the hotel school campuses and courses as well. So that'll be coming through potentially in 2 to 3 weeks. You'll receive that new agreement. We will organise training for you if you're not familiar with the hotel school, and you'll learn about their courses. Just to summarise, there's a 3-year bachelor, a 2-year master's. Each of them includes a 6-month paid internship as part of the course, and they have very, very high job placement rates. 100% of hotel school graduates are placed with the job after they graduate. So it's an extremely good school for your students to go to if they're interested in studying and then working in the hotel and hospitality industry. So the new contracts will be out in a couple of weeks. We'll provide training, and then please send us lots of students to study at the hotel school. All right. With that, I'll now hand over to Julia Hoon, who's going to give us an update on some GS changes in low-risk markets. So over to you, Julia.
Thank you, Adam. So hi to everyone on the call. Some of you have come to us to say that, we really shouldn't be requesting a whole lot of information from lower risk countries. So we've listened to you, and now what we have is a GS approach in place that basically covers we have three different approaches. So we have got a Streamlined GS, the Light GS, and the Standard GS. So Streamlined will be primarily for the lowest risk country, and all students will have to do is to sign off on a GS declaration and a financial declaration. It's part of the offer letter. They sign, complete, and submit with the acceptance, and then we don't complete any full-on GS assessment. They'll be provided with a COE and be allowed to proceed. Light is a little bit of a middle ground between Streamlined and Standard. Standard is basically what you all already know, that you have been letting us know that we require a lot of information. Those are reserved only for the higher risk countries, so that part doesn't change. But we've introduced something between Streamlined and Standard called Light GS, and what it does is that it is it's also a GS declaration that the student complete with a financial declaration, but we will require evidence of prior immigration and study history in Australia. So that's something to be aware of. Most of our onshore lower risk nationalities and other offshore low risk countries will be part of a Light suite. Again, the declaration will be part of the offer letter, and then, students will sign, complete, and submit that with acceptance. With Standard, what you will see is the provisional offer going out from all locations, and then we complete the GS assessment, which may include an interview or will include an interview, depending on which location you apply for. And then once we see that that is positive, then the acceptance will proceed. Okay, so just letting you guys know, if you need more information, reach out to your regional managers. I'm happy to take questions as well in the Q&A. Thank you. I think we're moving on now to Mr. John Crowder from SDU Ventures. John, over to you.
Thank you, Julia. Hello, everyone. A pleasure to be with you all again. And I'm here today to talk about a couple of things, particularly to do with the Graduate Diploma of Education and the Master of Teaching package. As you'll all be aware, as Adam mentioned earlier, it is very likely that CAPS will be introduced from the beginning of next year. And CAPS are obviously playing a significant role in the way universities are now required to look at the cohorts of students that they have. So the Graduate Diploma of Education for SCU Ventures, at least, and I'm sure it's the same for my colleagues at Main Campus, is an extremely popular course. For us at Ventures, it is our #1 course, and we have been inundated with applications. That's great. The issue is that if we continue going the way we're going, we will potentially fill up our CAPS with students in just this one course, which is obviously not ideal, particularly given this course is a one-year course and therefore lower yield for the university. So what we're looking at now is a streamlined process where we're going to be prioritizing certain cohorts of students in these two courses. And I'll go through that in some detail in a moment. For the standalone Graduate Diploma of Education in Early Childhood, preference is going to be given to non-student visa holders. So in most cases, we will not accept a student for entry into the Graduate Diploma of Education if they are on a student visa. And I'll go over this a little bit more in a moment. Applicants who want to apply for a new student visa to study the graduate diploma will only be offered a place if they apply for a 485 visa or other non-student visa. Now, again, I'm talking about the standalone graduate Diploma of Education. This does not apply to the package. With the Master of Teaching in Early Childhood, preference will be given again to non-student visa holders for the GDEC MTech package. So we're not saying we're going to reject these applicants, but preference will be given to non-student visa holders first. Applicants on a student visa will be permitted without restriction if they can complete the entire package within the duration of their current student visa. Students who can complete the graduate diploma component only within their current visa duration will be required to undergo the GSRI, the interview, and the genuine student statement assessments if they're from level 1 countries and they've been in Australia for 5 years or less. If they've been in the country for 5 years or more with an unrelated background, or the applicant is from a level 2 or 3 country, we will only be making offers to students applying for a 485 visa. Now, part of this, you will be aware, is tied up with the migration strategy that was released in December last year, where immigration made it very clear that they are targeting students who have been in the country for a long period of time, have not managed to get permanent residence yet, and have been jumping from one visa to another or one course to another for more than 5 years. So this is the cohort we're specifically looking at here. Thank you for that. This matrix will give you an idea of what I was talking about. So you'll see along the top, we have a number of different visa subclasses. So the 417 and 462 working holiday visas, yes, we will accept students from those, but there are conditions for students on those visas. Immigration has confirmed that they will accept an application from a student on a working holiday visa to apply for a student visa onshore. However, such students will need to apply for a student visa, as they only have a 4-month study limit. And all of these students will need to go through the genuine student assessment, including an interview and the GSS. They will need to be able to explain the value of the course to their future and their return on investment. And in these cases where students are doing the standalone course, we'll be looking at the normal deposit structure. If the student is doing the package, we would be looking at 4 units for the first course and 4 units for the second course. So that applies to all those categories of the working holiday visa. For 485 visa holders, there are generally no restrictions. So this is obviously the cohort that we want to prioritize for these 2 courses. If the student can complete within the duration of their current 485 visa, there are no restrictions. If the student can complete only 50% of the grad dip within their current 485 visa, we will still issue an offer, but it will be made clear to the student that it is their responsibility to ensure that they maintain a visa to allow them to continuing study in Australia. Obviously, we know that a student on a 485 visa can no longer apply for a student visa onshore, so they will need to ensure that they have an ongoing 485 visa or they're eligible for another non-student visa after that. Students on the 408 visa, the old COVID activity visa, there are still a number of students on these visas, even though they can no longer apply for a new one. Again, if the student is on a 408 visa and can complete the graduate diploma within the duration of that visa, there are no restrictions. We will accept that student without any problem. If they can complete only 50% of their course or less, we will require the GSRI and GSS. Again, the student will be interviewed and be expected to explain the value of the course to their future. If the student can complete less than 50% of the course on that visa, we will only issue an offer if the student is eligible to apply for another non-student visa. Now you can see under the 500 visa subclass column, we have indicated non-student visa only. So a student applying for the graduate diploma of education as a standalone course will only be made an offer if they are applying for a non-student visa. Now, obviously, I'm only talking about onshore students here. Next slide, please, Adam. Oh, yep. Thank you. So this next one is talking about the graduate diploma and master package. So slightly different here. Same requirements for the working holiday visa. Same requirements for the 485 visa. We will prioritize students. You see that is all green. So students on the 485 visa will be prioritized. Similarly, a student on a 408 visa who can complete the entire package within the duration of the 408 visa will be prioritized. If they can only complete the graduate diploma within that 408 visa duration and they then want to apply for another visa type, we will go through the process of the genuine student assessment. If they're unable to complete either course within their current visa duration, we will generally advise that the student will only be granted an offer if they can be granted another non-student visa, or in some cases, we would look at a student visa if the student is from a particular profile, and so we wouldn't consider students, for example, from an IT or engineering background, wanting to suddenly transfer into a early childhood career. With the student visa holders, you'll see again, if the student can complete within the duration of their student visa, there are no restrictions. That second cohort, they can complete the graduate diploma, but not the master's. They will need to go through the genuine student assessment. And if the student cannot complete either of these courses within the duration of their current visa, we will give an offer only if they're applying for a non-student visa. So the takeaway from that is for the graduate diploma standalone, we will not issue an offer for a student on a student visa. We will prioritize students on 485 and 408 visas and other non-student visa types. If the student is on a working holiday visa, yes, we will accept the application, but they will be subject to the genuine student assessment. So hopefully that has made it clear. We can deal with your questions later on. So that is the grad dip and master of teaching part. I'm going to talk now about some of the benefits of having students apply for a 485 visa and study on that visa. We all understand that the changes that immigration made to the 485 visa in July this year has resulted in a significant change in behaviour for students. Whereas once upon a time, a student would complete a bachelor's degree, apply for a 485 visa, and then after they complete that 485 visa, they would try to study again or something if they wanted to stay in the country. Because that is no longer possible, we're seeing that most students are wanting to save their 485 visa for later. And what we're seeing, especially at our metro campuses, is an increase in the number of high-risk applications where a student has, let's say, completed a Master of Engineering or a Master of Professional Accounting or a Master of IT, and they now suddenly decide that they've always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher and are applying for the grad dip or the Master of Teaching. Now, these are obviously higher risk applications. Immigration, we know, will look at these cases very suspiciously. The student must meet the genuine student requirement if they are applying for a student visa, and there is no guarantee that that student visa will be granted if the student cannot adequately demonstrate their reasons for wanting to change their career path. Immigration has made it very clear to us that they will look at these cases closely. So a 485 visa removes that risk. So if we look at the benefits of getting a student to study on a 485 visa and do the graduate diploma or the Master of Teaching on that, the first one we have is obviously that the 485 visa requirement makes it a lot easier to meet the visa conditions. As opposed to a student visa application. So there are no genuine student requirements, obviously, for a 485 visa. There are for the 500 visa. So in those higher risk cases where a student is coming from a non-cognate background who want to go into the education courses, it does make more sense for them to apply and study that on a 485 visa, because there is very little chance of that 485 visa being rejected if they meet the eligibility requirements for that. And that is basically, as you'll all be aware, that they've completed an eligible course in Australia, which all of the students applying for the graduate diploma or the master's have. They've all completed a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. And as long as they meet the English language requirement for the 485 visa, they will be granted that 485 visa. The English language requirements for the 485 visa are lower than the English language requirements for entry into the graduate diploma anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, the next benefit of the 485 are the work rights. So particularly when students are on a limited budget, they know that on the 485 visa, there is no limit to the number of hours they can work. So if a student wanted to work and study pretty much full time, if they are capable of doing that, then that is up to them. Whereas the 500 visa imposes those work restrictions that limits the amount of money that a student can earn while they're on that visa. Next one is the study flexibility. So again, while a student is on a 500 visa, they are subject to attendance requirements. They cannot study online. They must be an on-campus student, and they're subject to all of those ESOS regulations. On the 485 visa, the student has a lot more flexibility and is not required to study on campus and is therefore eligible to study online. Financial benefits of the 485, obviously, again, because of the unrestricted work hours, the student can earn a lot more money than they're able to earn while they're on a 500 visa. Next one, please. And again, significantly, the 485 visa is a much more substantial post-study pathway. So the 485 visa allows the student to both work and study to gain additional points in both the course they undertake and the employment that they are employed in. And the benefit of the graduate diploma and the Master of Teaching, for example, is that the student can teach while they're studying the course. And we do have some students already doing that. So if they're able to study and work, they're able to start collecting points towards their permanent residence on that 485 visa. The 500 visa is not designed for that. So there are significant benefits in you convincing students to apply for a 485 visa now and study on that. So talking again about the pathways to permanent residency, we know that students gaining points on that visa in their education and employment does contribute to their skilled migration pathways, especially for those students applying for a 189 or 190 visa. Some professional year programs for engineers and accountants, etc., also account to pathways for PR, and these programs can also be completed whilst on a 485 visa. So significant benefits there. As we said, we will be prioritizing students where they have a non-student visa. If they are a standalone graduate diploma of education student, we will not accept them on a student visa. When we respond to such an application, we will not reject the application outright, but we will go back to you as the agent and say, we're sorry, we're unable to make an offer for the student on a student visa, but we will be happy to make an offer if the student provides evidence that they have applied for a non-student visa. So hopefully that makes that clear to everyone. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is a deposit update. This is for the Southern Cross University Ventures campuses, the metro campuses, Sydney, Melbourne and Perth only at this point. What we're looking at doing is implementing a revised deposit structure for students from some high-risk areas. These include Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and India. Now, what we will be implementing are a 12-month deposit for applicants from those countries and regions. So, once this is implemented, it will be a 12-month deposit for undergraduate students from Bangladesh. It will not apply to postgraduate students from Bangladesh. If a postgraduate student from Bangladesh wants to pay a 12-month deposit, that is fine, but it will not be required. It will be required for undergraduate students. The same for Nepal. Undergraduate students from Nepal will be charged a 12-month deposit. It will not apply to postgraduates. In Pakistan, we are currently not accepting applications for undergraduate applicants from Pakistan. We do accept postgraduate, and the 12-month deposit will apply to postgraduate students from Pakistan. India is a little bit more complicated. So India, as we all know, there are high-risk areas within India and many low-risk areas as well. In the high-risk areas of Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Rajasthan, Telangana, Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, undergraduate students from all these states will be subject to the 12-month deposits. Postgraduate students from these areas will not be, except those postgraduate students from Haryana and Punjab. So that will be implemented very shortly. And the idea behind this is twofold. Firstly, it is to help ensure that the students that are applying to us are genuine students and have the best chance of visa grant coming from higher risk areas. Secondly, it is to ensure that we can maintain a high retention rate. Many universities, particularly where they have high volumes of students coming from these countries, are noticing high attrition rates, particularly amongst undergraduate students, where the student will come into the country, use our COE to get into the country, do 6 months of their course, and then disappear. We believe that implementing a higher deposit will help mitigate that risk and reduce that attrition rate. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll pass back to Adam and Damon, and we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Adam. Colleagues, everyone on the call, if you have some questions, please pop them into the Q&A at the bottom there, and we'll get through them as quickly as we can. I know there's already 4 in there. I might leave it, since some of these seem to be admissions and recruitment focused, I'll leave it to Adam and John and Julia to work through them. Thanks.
Thanks, Damon. There's one in there, Narisu, that might be best for you to answer about Japan and the genuine student declaration. Would you like to answer that one?
That's probably a question for Julia. Hi, Julia. Meva has asked for Japan, GS declaration and financial declarations are required. Do you mean that we just fill in the GS form and submit it without any supporting documents?
You're referring to the Streamlined process, Meva. So if for Japan, it is a Streamlined GS declaration, and that will be part of the offer letter. So in the offer letter, if you look at it, you will see a declaration at the towards the back of the offer, and it will say that the student will have a tick off and say, "Yep, I agree," etc., and then signed off on the bottom, and that includes the financial. And yes, you would just complete that, and then you would submit that with your acceptance.
So thank you, Julia. If there are any onshore agents on the call who are sending us students from very low risk countries, you know that you've had a lot of issues in the past with a lot of you saying that the supporting documents are really cumbersome, and so we've taken your feedback now, and admissions have implemented Streamlined and or light GSR for that one. So this is a great news. Adam, over to you for the next question.
Narisu, I'd just like to flag with the onshore agents that even if Southern Cross do not ask you to provide evidence, you are still required to provide evidence as part of your student visa application. So that part does not change. But what we would accept is the risk that they are unlikely to be very, very high risk, and therefore we would trust you to help your student to submit proper student visa application, preferably with full evidence, so that they will get a visa grant. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Julia. There's a couple of questions here. Nipanika has asked for a copy of the PowerPoint. So we will be sharing a link to the recording and the presentation after the session today. So no need to send your email address. We'll be sending that out to you. There's a good question here from Nazneen, and maybe John Crowder, you might be the one to answer this. So this is asking, is a 1-year deposit, can it be made out of the funds shown like from recent money? John Crowder, do you want to have a crack at that if you're the right person?
Sure, I think I understand what the question is. So when it comes to deposit payment, there's no need to show the source of funds or anything like that. You're paying a deposit, so those can be recent funds. But where you are required to show your financial documents, we don't accept recent funds. You must provide evidence that the funds have been in an account for at least 6 months. But for deposit purposes, no.
Okay, thanks, John. There's 2 questions here that are related as well. They're talking about the 12-month deposits. Would they also apply to students on a 485 visa? So that would suggest that the student was onshore. So I think we might need to clarify if the longer deposits apply there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my apologies there, everyone. I should have clarified that up front. The higher deposits do not apply to onshore students. It is only offshore students in those particular regions. So it wouldn't be relevant to a student on a 485 visa.
Just related to that, John, someone is checking, are there any changes for the packaged GDEC and MTech for offshore that we're announcing, or is it only applicable to onshore students?
No, that is only onshore students. So offshore students, in most cases, it would be very unlikely that we would issue an offer for a standalone GDEC from offshore anyway, for the metro campuses, but certainly a GDEC MTech pathway, we would. And there's no changes to that. Okay,
good one. Now this could be for Julia or John. If a student doesn't pass an interview, do they need to redo the whole genuine student process, or is it just a matter of redoing the interview?
So for metro campuses, if a student fails the interview, they fail the genuine student assessment. And that's it. It goes no further after that. So because the interview comes first, that is the first step in the process. They fail that interview, that's the end of the line.
That is the same for the other regional campuses as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Julia. Question here, John. This will be for you. This is about the increased 1-year deposits for those selected offshore markets. What would be the timeline for that to be implemented? And if a student already has an offer, what would be the impact on them, if any?
Okay, so if the student has already got an offer and we're already processing the genuine student requirement, we're not going to apply that retrospectively. This will be for students from the point this is implemented. And I guess, Adam, that'll be your decision when we implement that.
Yeah, I think the discussion has been early next week, John. So most likely from Monday, just for the Sydney, Melbourne, Perth campuses, I believe. Related to that, the time, what would be the timeline for the student visas who were applying for the graduate diploma would that be coming in from Monday as well? And if a student had a live offer letter and they were looking for a student visa, would they still be able to accept, or is that going to be applied at the point of acceptance there?
So the changes for the onshore students in the graduate diploma will take effect immediately from Monday. So any new application that comes in will be subject to this. So we will not be accepting any more applications for the graduate diploma standalone on a student visa. We will be responding to you to say we will be happy to make an offer if the student applies for a non-student visa. So that will start immediately. If a student has already got an offer and has accepted that offer, then obviously we will honour that. In terms, Julia, what are your thoughts on offers that haven't been accepted?
The offer will be valid until it is reissued or that it expires.
Okay.
Okay. Good one. All right. There's a question here about Access25 and the $25,000 tuition fees. This has come from Deepak, and a couple of people have given it the thumbs up. The question is the $25,000 fee for their first year only or for the full duration of the course? So I'll just go back to this slide here with Access25 details, and the point to look at is the last bullet point here. So for 2025, the tuition fees, the annual tuition fees will be set at $25,000. For 2026, all students' tuition fees will be indexed. So that's the system that's currently used at Southern Cross and just about all Australian universities. When a student enrolls and they proceed into the next year, their tuition fees are adjusted upwards. The actual amount that it will be adjusted is normally announced towards the middle of the year. So in the middle of 2025, the university will be announcing what the 2026 fees are. And Damon, I think you're familiar with this process. Maybe would you like to give any more detail there of how the indexing would work into 2026?
Yeah, sure. So every year the fees are reviewed by universities in Australia. There's usually a small percentage applied. We've not yet undertaken that activity here at Southern Cross, and indeed most unis don't until next year. But it will be an incremental increase in line with what happens across the sector. It won't be a dramatic change. And 2025 is the $25,000 is the baseline fee upon which any small incremental changes will be made.
Yeah.
Not
just
going
on that
back to
one.
higher fees and incrementing that. We're staying with 25,000 and incrementing from 25,000.
Thank you, Damon. Just on that one, I know that a lot of our agents have already started doing social media promotion of Access25, and in your advertising and promotion, there's some inaccurate information. We keep finding that you are advertising it as 25,000 per year. There has to be a bit of a explanation on that one on the consumer price index. So as Damon said, there's going to be a little bit of a change, small increase from 2026 and onwards. So if you say $25,000 per year, then that is actually inaccurate. And if you have already published any social media advertising on that one, please correct it. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. There's a question here again from Simajit asking about the increased deposits for the Sydney, Melbourne, Perth campuses. So the question was, from now on, 1 year tuition fee is mandatory for the Punjab region. So maybe John Crowder, would you just like to quickly summarise how this works for India and the increased deposits there?
Yes, sure. So again, it is mandatory for all students from, all undergraduate students from the regions outlined there for Punjab and Haryana. it applies to all students, both undergraduate and postgraduate. They will be required to pay a 12-month deposit.
Okay, thanks, John. Another question in there. Could you please confirm if an onshore postgraduate student transitioning from another provider to SCU are required to deposit only 6 months fees to secure their COE, and they're from a high-risk region? So how would that affect onshore students, John?
So currently, there's no change to the deposit structure that we have. A student applying to transfer to us as an onshore student, if they're on a non-student visa, we charge a 2-unit deposit. If they're on a student visa, they're required to pay a 4-unit deposit.
Okay. All right. A question from Manisha. This is about deposits again. Asking if will offers be revised to reflect 12 months if they've already been issued, or will it just be new offers going out? Maybe for you as well, John?
Yeah, it will just be for new offers going out. So this is being implemented from Monday. So any new offers from Monday will be required to pay that 12-month deposit. If the student already has accepted their offer, we will honour that acceptance, obviously.
Okay. This might be a Julia question. Julia, there's one from Van Shika there asking about, it looks like there's a $10,000 non-refundable deposit that's mentioned in offshore students' offer letters. Does that sound accurate? A $10,000 non-refundable offshore?
I don't believe that is for a main campus program, but we do provide the information on the offer letter. So non-refundable deposits can range from $2,000 upwards. So I think that you have to be more specific. It's like which location and what course are you talking about? And if we state there that there is a non-refundable deposit, that's basically what we mean. And yes, it could be $10,000, but I don't believe that is the case for main campus. Is there more information on this?
I think
Well,
they can
I'll
maybe
wait for the follow-up question. Yeah. Thanks.
follow-up question there. Right. Okay. There's a question here, John, about the 485. Can a student who's completed a master recently and is applying for a 485 visa, can they study the GDEC MTech in fast track in order to complete it in 2 years?
Well, they wouldn't need to study fast track. The GDEC MTech is a 2-year course. I don't believe, this is really an academic question, but I don't believe students can fast track through that program. They're restricted to a maximum of 2 units per term. They may be able to study more than 8 units in a year if they study in a non-compulsory study period, but that will be subject to unit availability, and that's not something I can really answer. But they should be able to complete the GDEC and MTech within 2 years.
Mm. Okay, all right. Question here from Archie Sharma. Maybe, John, you might want to answer this as well. It's related to visas. Can an onshore 500 visa, student visa, apply for MTech from a non-cognate background?
So yes, technically they can. There's nothing in the academic requirements that prevent them applying for the Master of Teaching. It doesn't require a cognate background. However, The genuine student test will be applied to students who are either progressing diagonally, so that, for example, is a bachelor degree to a master's in a different field to their bachelor's, or where they are progressing horizontally from a master's in one field to a master's in a completely different field. We would apply the genuine student test to that and look at the reasons that the student is wanting to do that.
All right, thanks, John. And I think we probably just have time for one more question before we wrap up. We have a very large number of questions, but we're not going to have time to get to all of them there. There's a question here from Urvi Patel. Will Southern Cross issue a conditional COE for undergrad and postgrad? Maybe, John, you want to go first on that one?
So what was the question again? I didn't get it.
Yeah, is it possible to get a conditional COE for undergrad and postgrad?
I can talk on the legalities of this. Legally speaking, there is no such thing as a conditional COE. Once that COE is issued, the university is obligated to take that student. If the student then doesn't meet the conditions that were outlined on that COE, we are in trouble. So from a Metro campus point of view, we do not issue conditional COEs for that reason. There is no such thing. Julia, you might want to comment on your side.
No, I agree with you, John. There is no such thing as a conditional COE.
Okay, that will be a no. Thank you. All right, everyone. I think we've hit time there. So just a reminder that we will be sharing a recording of this training and also the PowerPoint. So that will come out to your emails as long as you registered for the meeting today. Apologies, we didn't have time to get through all of the questions, but just a really quick reminder of what we went through. So Access25 is now live. All courses across the university, with a couple of exceptions, are now $25,000 for new students and continuing students. The hotel school has merged with the university, and if you recruit for Southern Cross, you will very soon be able to recruit for the hotel school as well, which is very good news. There are some new restrictions for the graduate diploma. In summary, students on a student visa will not be able to enroll in the graduate diploma. They need another type of visa starting from next week. And then we did have some streamlined genuine student requirements for low risk markets, and also Sydney, Melbourne, Perth. We are going to be introducing some deposits for those high risk areas that are 1 year rather than 6 months. But thank you everyone for joining today. Damon, I'll hand back to you just to do the wrap up, if you like.
Great, thanks Adam, and thanks everyone for your time today. I hope it's been really useful. We've got some really exciting developments here, as I said. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. We're really looking forward to working with you over the coming months and years. If you have any questions from today that we didn't get a chance to answer, please feel free to reach out to your recruitment manager or recruitment colleague from Southern Cross, and we'll help you out. Thank you very much, everyone. All the best.
Thanks, everyone, and happy Diwali for everyone.
Oh, yes, happy Diwali.